All right. So we're going to continue the Proverb a Day project that I have for my YouTube and I'm going to make for my YouTube channel. Today I'm going to use a different translation. This is my favorite translation. The other translation I was using, the Fresh Start Bible, I was using that at the beginning of the year. Now this is not the beginning of the year. The NASB, the New American Standard Bible, is supposed to be the most accurate translation from my studies. And so it's time for us to step it on up. So we did 7 from the NASB, or no, we did 7 from the Fresh Start Bible. And now we're getting into a little bit more accurate Bible. This isn't exactly a study Bible. But anyway, chapter 8, the commendation of wisdom. Does not wisdom call and understanding lift up her voice? On top of the heights, besides the way where the paths meet, she takes her stand. Besides the gate, at the opening of the city, at the entrance of the doors, she cries out, "To you, O men, I call, and my voice to the sons of men. O naive sons, understand prudence, and O fools, understand wisdom. Listen, for I will speak noble things, and the opening of my lips will reveal right things. For my mouth will utter truth, and wickedness is an abomination to my lips. All the utterances of my youth are in righteousness. There is nothing crooked or perverted in them. They are all straightforward to him who understands, and right to those who find knowledge. Take my instructions, and not silver, and knowledge rather than the choicest gold. For wisdom is better than jewels, and the desirable things cannot compare with her." So that was verse 11. And I'm going to stop right there. And this is another good thing about reading different translations. Now, in the King James Version, that's a little bit more poetic. Chapter 8, verse 10 and 11. Take my instructions and not silver, and knowledge rather than choicest gold. So basically, in another translation, it might say something more poetic, like silver and gold and knowledge and instruction are more valuable than jewels. It's going to repeat that thing. Anyway, let's go to verse 12, chapter 8, verse 12. Now remember, this is wisdom speaking as a female, as a wise old woman or your wise mother. Listen to the mother of your wisdom. So this is wisdom speaking as a female. Chapter 8, verse 12. I, O wisdom, dwell with prudence, and I find knowledge and discretion. The fear of the Lord is to hate evil. Pride and arrogance and the evil way and the perverted mouth I hate. Counsel is mine, counsel is mine, and sound wisdom. I am understanding, power is mine. Verse 15, by me kings reign, and rulers decree justice. By me princes rule, and nobles, all who judge rightly. I love those who love me, and those who diligently seek me will find me. Riches and honors are with me, enduring wealth and righteousness. My fruit is better than gold, even pure gold, and my yield better than choicest silver. Again, another reason to get other translations. A lot of modern English speakers might not understand the words of this, and I might switch back to the other one. But a lot of these words, if you don't understand them, you should look it up. But again, that's why you should read it for yourself. Read a good translation that you really do understand. But my yield, basically the yield of a field. So if you're planting crops and then when you harvest the crops that are good enough to eat and sell, that's going to be your yield. So my fruit is better than gold, even pure gold, and my yield is better than choicest than the choicest silver. I walk in the way of righteous in the midst of the path of the justice, to endow those who love me with wealth, that I may fill their treasuries. Verse 22, the Lord possessed me at the beginning of his way, before his works of old. From everlasting I was established, from the beginning, from the earliest times of the earth. When there were no depths, I brought forth, when there were no springs abounding with water. Before the mountains were settled, before the hills I was brought forth, while he had not yet made the earth and the fields, nor the first dust of the world. So again, this is the feminine version of wisdom. Some people might translate that, and some religions, some sects and variations might say that's the wife of the father. Wisdom. There's another thing to understand, that the book of Proverbs is believed to be written mostly by King Solomon, the wisest and the richest king of all times. And this was written in a time where the kingdom of Israel was very successful and fruitful. This was after the reign of King David and during the reign of King Solomon. Verse 25, before the mountains were settled, we're going to start verse 23. For from everlasting I was established, from the beginning, from the earliest times of the earth. When there were no depths, I was brought forth. When there were no springs abounding with water, before the mountains were settled, before the hills I was brought forth, while he had not yet made the earth and the fields, nor the first dust of the world. When he established the heavens, I was there. When he inscribed a circle on the face of the deep, when he made firm the skies above, when the springs of the deep became fixed, when he set the sea at his boundary, so that the water would not transgress his command, when he marketh out the foundations of the earth, when I was besides him as a master workman, and I was daily his delight, rejoicing always before him, rejoicing in the world, his earth, and having my delight in the sons of men. Now therefore, O sons, listen to me, for blessed are they who keep my ways, heed instructions, and be wise, and do not neglect it. Blessed is the man who listens to me, watching daily at my gates, waiting for my doorpost. For he who finds life and obtains favor from the Lord. But he who sins against me injures himself. All those who hate me love death. Again, that's wisdom. Me, I, that's wisdom. So if you hate wisdom, you love death. So that's the end of chapter 9. And it does kind of seem like I skipped some verses. No, that was the end of chapter 8, I'm sorry. Let me pause a second. Yeah, I was making sure I didn't skip anything, and it looks like I didn't skip anything. But we still haven't got into the Proverbs. This is still just the introduction of the Proverbs. So read it for yourself. And day 8, chapter 8. And I do want to add some context. So Solomon is considered the wisest man that ever lived, but keep in mind who and what Solomon was. Solomon, of course, God came to Solomon in a vision and told Solomon that he would grant him anything that he wanted. And Solomon asked for wisdom. So God blessed Solomon and made him the wisest man that had ever lived. And wisdom is not enough. Knowledge and wisdom are important. Understanding is important. However, Solomon did sin. When you really look at the story of Solomon, you have to look at it like that old saying, sometimes you could be so smart you become stupid. And in Solomon's case, he was wise, but he was too wise. And he was wise in his own eyes. He made mistakes, fatal mistakes. He ended up becoming the greatest blasphemer that we know of. So even though Solomon was the greatest wise man in history, according to the Bible, you have to remember that we don't know everything. And wisdom can't protect you from hubris. And you have to love wisdom more than you love people. And you have to stay in love with wisdom. And always understand that your wisdom comes from God. And the fear of the Lord, which is not about being afraid. It's about being respectful, really. Respect is such a good word. And you have to wonder if the word respect is missing from this book. A lot of times when they talk about fear of the Lord, do they really mean respect? See, some people, they just can't understand respect. If you can understand respect, you can understand what it means to fear the Lord. You shouldn't have to be threatened to behave correctly. But if you're primitive or immature, childish, maybe it is fear that you need, but you should outgrow that fear, and that fear should turn to respect. So that'll be the end of chapter 8.